and sell this kind of as a family, you know, adventure vehicle rather than an actual pickup truck meant for work. What is going on today, guys? My name is Alex. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be testing out the max payload for my Ram 1500. That's why we got all these weights here. We are going to put 1,500 pounds in the back of this truck and see how much this suspension drops. Now, a couple things before we start loading this thing up with weights. If you just do a quick Google search, you may think that the payload for the 4th gen Ram 1500 is 1,880 pounds, and you would kind of be correct. However, it all depends on the configuration of your truck. For example, this is obviously a quad cab truck. It's a 4x4. But in order to get that 1,880 pound max payload available to you, you have to have a 2-wheel drive standard cab truck. And that is how you get your max payload. So unfortunately, we can only put 1,570 pounds in this truck according to Chrysler. Now, the other important thing to discuss is the suspension type in these 4th gen Ram 1500s. And it is a coil rear suspension, potentially meaning that it is not going to carry a load as well as leaf springs, which is what you find in most pickup trucks for that reason. These Rams tend to have a reputation that they will sag and sink quite a lot when there's a load in the back or when you've got a good amount of tongue weight on the hitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the height of the truck with no weight in it, and then we're going to measure the truck obviously when we have 1,570 pounds in the back, and we're going to see how hard this thing sinks. So the ground probably isn't perfectly level here, but it's a real world test. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure both sides, and then we'll average out what the ride height is before and obviously after when we are fully loaded up. So let's take a measurement here. And I got basically exactly 40 inches from the ground to the fender. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. I guess we'll find out real quick if we're actually level or not. So yeah, no, we're not. We're off by about 1/4 of an inch. So I got 39 and 3/4 here. So we'll average that out, and then when we put the weight in the truck, we'll also average out the height to give a good reading on how much this truck actually sunk. We got our measurements in. It's time to actually start loading up the weight. 1,500 pounds, getting myself a little workout. So let's get to it. We have 510 pounds in here so far. I figured we might as well take measurements at 500 pounds roughly, and then 1,000 pounds, and obviously the full payload. So if you remember just a second ago, we were at 40 inches on this side, and we are now below 39 inches. So we have dropped over an inch with 500 pounds. 38 1/4. So quite a bit of drop with just 500 pounds. I believe that's about 1.5 inches. So we got just over an inch here and 1.5 inches on this side. So yeah, she's coming down pretty good. Before we put any weight in, we had 40 inches up to the fender. Now we have 37. So we've dropped a full 3 inches with 1,000 pounds in the bed. Let's go see about the other side. And then same thing with this side. We started with just under 40 inches, 39 3/4. And we are bang on 37. So not quite 3 inches, but just about. We got another 570 pounds to put in this thing. I'm curious if she's gonna squat over 4 inches. That is a little ridiculous if she does, but yeah, that's what we're here to find out. We have roughly 1,570 pounds, give or take, in the back of this truck. I actually ran out of weights, so I filled a bunch of containers with water, measured it out, and then obviously I have my beautiful girlfriend Chelsea here at a heavy, whopping 140 pounds here to round us off very close to the official payload number on this truck. Got the handy dandy tape measure here. All right, so as we remember, we were just under 40 inches to begin with, and we are exactly, well, we're actually slightly under 3 feet. So basically dropped 4 inches. And on the driver's side, We were right at 40 inches to begin with, and we are basically right at 36. So this truck has dropped 4 inches in the rear when fully loaded, which is kind of crazy. There's the coils fully loaded, a little bit more compressed than when not fully loaded. So this bump stop is literally touching the axle, which means this thing is actually pretty much bottomed out, which is kind of crazy. So there you go, fully loaded, I guess with 1,500 pounds in the back, bottoms out the suspension because this is right on the axle. If you guys can see that, hopefully you can. There's not much light down here, I apologize. Don't have my light with me. So as you guys saw, the truck sunk pretty significantly, a good 4 inches. I thought it was only going to sink 3, but there you go, 4 inches fully loaded. Now obviously I put a full 1,500 plus pounds in here, but in reality the actual payload of this truck is going to be much less. Those payload numbers don't include fuel and passengers, as well as like tow straps and like hold down straps and whatever else you got in the truck. That all counts towards your payload. So for example, if I had a full tank of gas, that's 100 liters, that's roughly 220 pounds. I'm, you know, a fatty at 200 pounds. And if I had my girlfriend in there like 150, you know, that's well over 500 pounds of technical payload on the truck. So in terms of like actual real payload, you're probably only looking around 1,200, 1,100, 1,000 pounds, depending on what you got going on inside the truck here, which is kind of crappy for a pickup truck. Like I know the Fords, they have a payload package, which dramatically increases the amount of payload you can put in the back of a truck, which I kind of like. I wish Ram would have that option as well. So I guess the big question is, why did Ram put coils in the back of their trucks in their 1,500 lineup? And I think what the simple answer is that Ram was more focused on ride quality than actual performance of the truck doing work, if that makes sense. I can only speculate, but if you look at these trucks driving down the road, 95 to probably 99% of them are not loaded. They're actually probably 100% unloaded. So I think Ram probably took a gamble saying, well, let's focus on ride quality and sell trucks on ride quality to, let's say, families, people that live in the city, people that don't necessarily use these trucks for work, and every now and again will load it up. And obviously the coils can handle it. This thing will drive just fine, but it does sink a ton. They also did offer this truck with air suspension, which if you knew you were towing, they would probably try and upsell you. That way, when you do tow and do have a lot of weight on the tongue, the truck won't sink. That's just my guess. I think they were trying to sell this 4th gen Ram to a much broader market rather than just a typical pickup truck market, and sell this kind of as a family, you know, adventure vehicle rather than an actual pickup truck meant for work. That's just my opinion. But I think that's probably a good guess as to why they put coils rather than good old-fashioned leaf springs that are probably a little more robust and can handle a load a little better. I guess where we go from here is to get a 1,500 pickup truck, ideally somewhere in this year range, and we put the exact same weight in that truck and see how much it sinks. I have a very strong suspicion that it will not sink as much, but only time will tell. However, if you did like the video, don't forget to leave that thumbs up. And if you like cool stuff like this, maybe think about subscribing. We'd love to have you on board. Anyways, enough of me. We'll see you in the next freaking video.